Welcome to Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Jan Mabey, and I am your worship associate today. I am joined by Beth Syverson, our Director of Music Ministries, and Karen Magoon Pearson, who is our Director of Religious Education for Children and Youth, in welcoming you this morning. Our minister, Reverend Sean Wilshire, is not leading the service today, but she has a special message for you.
Hello, Roomers and Zoomers. So I'm away this week, but my spirit is with you. For those of you who are new to the church, maybe you're just checking us out or curious about Unitarian Universalism, welcome. Glad you're here. You are in for a treat. This is a wonderful, friendly, fabulous, just all-around spectacular community. I hope you can get to know them because it can be kind of tough to get to know a new community. But here's the thing, just hang in there, join in one of the activities, and before long, you'll get to know people, and then this becomes your church. Well, today we've planned a wonderful service for you, just blending music and word to bring together a helpful and hope-filled message. We hope it will feed your soul. So without further ado, let's go.
We would also like to recognize the many volunteers that have helped to put this service together today. In addition, this morning we are delighted to have Reverend Liz Murphy. Rev Liz Murphy, she, her, is a chaplain resident at the VA hospital in Loma Linda, California. She is also the affiliated community minister here at Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. She previously served as the Interfaith Programs Assistant at the University of Southern California's Office of Religious and Spiritual Life, as well as a chaplain intern at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Liz graduated from the Claremont School of Theology with a Master of Divinity in 2020. Originally from Pittsburgh, she lives in Los Angeles with her wife, Hillary. Welcome. We respectfully recognize that our church property rests on Hachiman and Tangba land. As Unitarian Universalists, we have many different beliefs, but we are one loving community. We are bound together, not by a common set of rules or beliefs, but rather a covenant. A covenant is simply a promise that whatever our beliefs, we accept one another and encourage each other in spiritual growth. We affirm that all life has inherent value and that all existence is interconnected. We strive for justice and compassion in our deeds and relationships, and we are committed to creating a welcoming community without regard to the traits that sometimes divide people. To our roomers, we invite you to silence your cell phones. For our Zoomers, we invite you to say hello in the chat. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors. If you are seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you will find it here. Later in the service, we will have an opportunity for you to introduce yourself if you'd like to do so. Let our worship begin with the lighting of our chalice as we say our unison affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. This we affirm together.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Please rise in body or spirit as we get centered for our service with this beautiful song, Breathing. Breathing in, I am alive right here. Breathing out, my mind is clear. Breathing in, my body is at ease. Breathing out, I am at peace. Breathing in, I am alive right here. Breathing out, my mind is clear. Breathing in, my body is at ease. Breathing out, I am. Keep it going. Breathing in, I am
morning. Good morning. Hello. I'm so overjoyed to be back with you all today as one of your affiliated ministers. I've been spending my days, as Jan mentioned, as a chaplain at the VA hospital out in Loma Linda. And I've been so grateful to be held in love and support by many of you as I grow my ministry there. While it's important and meaningful work to serve as a chaplain, it's always a comfort and a joy to return home to my UU community for worship and connection. And this morning, we will be thinking about prayer. Prayer is, I think, synonymous with religious community, but how might we as UUs of many different experiences and beliefs connect with prayer in our own lives and in our congregations? Looking to the natural world as our guide this service, we will investigate together how prayer in its many forms can be a transformative practice of just paying attention in our daily lives. Now I invite us to cross this threshold into our sacred worship space by sharing some call to worship words from the Reverend Sherry Woodbury. Welcome who come in friendship, who long for genuine community. May you be graciously received here as your authentic self. Welcome who come in curiosity, full of questions, or simply open. May you embrace wonder and encounter new delights. Welcome who come heavy with fatigue, weary from the troubles of the world, or the troubles of your individual life. May you rest and be filled in this sacred space. Welcome who come with joy for flowing rivers and gentle breeze, for changing skies and great trees. May the grace of the world leave a lasting imprint in you. Welcome who come with thanks for the altruism of the earth and the gift of human care. May your grateful heart overflow and bless those around you. Come, let us worship together.
Everything is sacred. Everything is filled with the divine. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everything is a wonder. Unfolding right before our eyes. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everything is a blessing, bursting from the earth and sky. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everyone is sacred. Everyone is filled
Morning. A child and his granddad love to take walks together in the woods. So if you're able and comfortable without needing to get out of your chair or stand up, you can kind of walk your feet gently in your seat. Let's see how that feels. Just like the granddad and the child walk through the forest. And during these long walks, they like to have important conversations. So one day, during one of these walks in the forest, the child asked his granddad about prayers. The granddad didn't say anything for a long time. Finally, they approached the tallest trees in the forest. Do you see how the trees reach toward the sky? They reach up toward the clouds and the sun and the moon and the stars. So if you're comfortable, you can reach up too, just like the trees. The trees are always reaching and trying to connect up and everywhere. And that connecting is a way to pray. And as we reach up, we can experience what it feels like to pray like a tree, reaching and connecting. So as the child thought about what his granddad said, he sat down on an old mossy rock. You know, that rock is still and silent, said Granddad. You can try curling yourself up and being still and silent like a rock. It's listening to everything that is going on in our world. Being still and listening are other important ways to pray. So as you hold yourself still, you can feel what it's like to pray like a rock. So the granddad and the child continued on their way and came to a stream. Sometimes, like today, the stream prays by dancing and laughing, said Granddad. So can you move like that, like a stream that's dancing and laughing? You've probably seen a stream like that, lots of water in it going. Sometimes there's a storm and the stream prays with big splashes and strong currents. And sometimes the stream prays in ways that are very calm and peaceful. So whatever type of stream you feel like today, feeling our feelings and expressing them through movement is another way to pray. So they cross the bridge over the stream and come to a big open field full of flowers. The granddad said, "The flowers are blooming and giving off their scents. They're just giving it off to the world for anyone to experience and enjoy. Doesn't it smell beautiful?" So take a deep breath through your nose with me. Giving of yourself is another important way to pray. So they kept walking and they reached home. The grandson, eager to extend this special time with his granddad a little longer, asked, "You told me about all the things in the woods and how they pray, but do people pray?" "Ah, yes, people do pray," the granddad said. "Sometimes we pray with our actions, when we are helping one another, showing someone our love, and making the world a better place. That's an important way to pray. And sometimes we pray with our words, if we're feeling thankful or sad, or if we have a problem that's too big to solve by ourselves. Sometimes using words as a prayer helps." The grandson asked, "How do you know you're using the right words when you pray?" He was worried about that. The granddad chuckled softly and assured him, "You don't need to worry about that. If the words are real and true and they come from your heart, then they are the right words every time." So I invite all of us to put your hand on your heart, close your eyes if you like to, and take a moment to see if you have any words that are real and true that you would like to say. Maybe a sentence. And you can go ahead and say them if they're there. And if they're not, that's okay too. So my prayer for all of you is that you know how much you're loved and cherished by this community, and that you know how happy we are that you all are here today. I'm going to light our children's chalice, and then the children and their teachers will head out to our religious education classes.
Hold you in our love as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go.
Well, Karen, that was pretty much my sermon in a nutshell. So that was such a beautiful story. I hope you all were able to take something from that. Really accessible way to just, approach prayer. It was very beautiful. But I do have some more for you this morning. And our reading this morning comes from the writer Rainer Maria Rilke, and this comes from, it's an excerpt from the Letters to a Young Poet, number 4. He was a 20th century Austrian poet and author, and to me, I think poetry is a sort of prayer. And this is a letter in response to a younger aspiring poet, an aspiring writer, which I think contains a lot of wisdom. So he writes, "In the great silences of these distances, I am touched by your beautiful anxiety about life. Even more than I was in Paris, where everything echoes and fades away differently because of the excessive noise that makes things tremble. Here, where I am surrounded by an enormous landscape, which the winds move across as they come from the seas, here I feel that there is no one anywhere who can answer for you those questions and feelings which, in their depths, have a life of their own. For even the most articulate people are unable to help, since what words point to is so very delicate, is almost unsayable. But even so, I think that you will not have to remain without a solution if you trust in things that are like the ones my eyes are now resting upon. If you trust in nature, in the small things that hardly anyone sees, and that can so suddenly become huge, immeasurable. If you have this love for what is humble, and try very simply, as someone who serves, to win the confidence of what seems poor, then everything will become easier for you, more coherent, and somehow more reconciling. Not in your conscious mind, perhaps, which stays behind, astonished, but in your innermost awareness, awakeness, and knowledge. You are so young, so much before all beginning, and I would like to beg you, dear sir, as well as I can, to have patience with everything unresolved in your heart, and to try to love the questions themselves, as if they were locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Don't search for the answers, which might not be given to you now, because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps then, someday, far in the future, you will gradually, even without noticing it, live your way into the answer. Perhaps you do carry within you the possibility of creating and forming as an especially blessed and pure way of living. Train yourself for that, but take whatever comes with great trust. And as long as it comes out of your will, out of some need of your innermost self, then take it upon yourself. So as we consider church, and take stock of our innermost selves this morning, I invite us now into a time of meditation and prayer. So I invite you to settle into your seat, allowing your eyelids to flutter to a close, or if it's more comfortable, to just soften your gaze and point it downwards. You can put your hands at your side or perhaps hold them gently over your heart, offering yourself a little extra tenderness this morning. Let us now breathe into this space, meditating on these words from Maureen Killeran. Here in this space, we are gathered, called by our sense of urgency or duty or the longing for community, called to be together this day. Here in this space, we are gathered, called to hold ourselves accountable to our values, to remind ourselves of those hopes and dreams and possibilities for which sometimes, in the rough and tumble world, it can be hard to hold on to. Here in this space, we are gathered, called to do our part in weaving a web of human community. Here in this space, some of us have come in pain. To those who are dealing with issues of health, we pray, we wish for courage and healing. And may we hold gently all the concerns, named and unnamed, that are gathered in this room on this morning. And in the complexities of community, it is right that in this space, some have come with joy bubbling in their heart. May we rejoice together, remembering the wisdom that says joys are multiplied when shared. May we remember gratitude for warmth, thankfulness for sunshine, appreciation for the simple tastes of whatever food our lives and bodies let us choose. Here in this space, we are called to weave the web of human community. May we pause. May we lift up at least one blessing, one joy, no matter how small, that has touched our life this week. May our shared time of silence and meditation be a blessing on our hearts, on this community. And may this blessing extend outward to grace the wider world. Let us now close our time of sacred silence and meditation with prayer. Transcendent Spirit, God of many names, we are gathered together this morning in hope, in the hope that we can find moments of stillness within ourselves, in hope that we take moments to pay attention to our feet on the floor, our hands at our side, our breath moving in and out. Pay attention to the birds outside these windows, to the sun shining through the trees, to the stops and starts of the world moving right along outside these doors. May we pay attention to the desires, the pains, and the joys on our hearts. And may we find the patience and strength within ourselves to live the questions of our lives. and to reconnect with the wisdom and peace within ourselves. May it be so, blessed be, and amen.
Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby, and hold on to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and will you ease this pain? Loosen, loosen, baby, and hold on to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and will you ease this pain? Loosen, loosen, baby, and hold on to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and will you ease this pain? Loosen, loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby, and hold on to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and will you ease this pain? Loosen, loosen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go.
Thank you, Beth, for that beautiful song. So, my earliest memory of prayer was around the age of 6 or 7 or so, after I had lost one of my favorite toys. Don't worry, sweets, my grandmother said. Just say a prayer to St. Anthony, and it'll turn up soon enough. I didn't exactly know who this guy Anthony was, or how he was going to help me find my beloved toy, but I was desperate. So I asked her, how do I pray to St. Anthony? And she led me through it. We closed our eyes, we did the sign of the cross, and then I said, Dear St. Anthony, I lost my favorite toy today and I can't find it anywhere. Can you please look over me and help me find it? I hope it turns up soon. Thank you. Amen. Maybe some of you also grew up praying to St. Anthony or still have a habit of doing that like I do. For those of you who did not, St. Anthony is the Catholic patron saint, if you haven't guessed it, of lost things. So in Catholic prayer, it's completely acceptable to pray to a saint to intercede on our behalf, no matter how big or small the request. And I think we probably all have some association with the word prayer, whether it's from childhood or perhaps a new contemplative practice that you've developed over time, or even maybe you have a sort of unease with the word. And I think we can all agree that prayer has at times been constructed and used in ways that are anything but life-giving. So this morning, I want to think about this concept we call prayer in all its many forms, to consider how it might act as a powerful thread between us and the transcendent, between us and stillness, between us and a deeper sense of connection. The poet Mary Oliver, who some might call a UU saint, if we had those, calls prayer paying attention. Paying attention. She writes that the real prayers are not the words, but the attention that comes first. And in a time when I think we're all more distracted than ever, with more and more responsibilities and expectations on our lives, with the distressing news of our world, locally and globally, we're all experiencing a sort of renaissance in ways to do anything but pay attention. And in this context, thinking of prayer as a moment of paying attention, I think, is countercultural. These glimpses of paying utter attention to that before us, that going on within us, are hard to come by if we aren't intentional about it. When I think back on my childhood self, I'm not entirely surprised I didn't know how to pray. Although there are definitely guidebooks and rules for that sort of thing, depending on your community. Prayer is also a concept and a practice that provides for flexibility and an improvisation. There's so many models out there. Every religious movement and institution has a recommended prayer practice. Spiritual individuals have developed fascinating and new ways to think about prayer, and others have even reclaimed and repurposed contemplative ancient practices in new and innovative ways. And in seminary, we learned the many different types of prayer: supplication, thanksgiving, praise, intercession, the list goes on. Prayer isn't always to a deity, although it certainly sometimes is. It can also be to ancestors, to the universe, to one's own self. It can be said aloud, it can be chanted, it can be sung, it can be danced, it can be recited in our own minds. It can be no words at all, instead focusing on breath or stillness. It can be done alone or with a group, on a rug or on a chair, lying down or kneeling, or even on a walk. From a house of worship like this, from our bedroom, the beach, an airplane. Prayer happens in many ways and in many places. But why do we do it? I think there are a lot of good reasons to pray, including some scientific ones too. Beyond the sense of community or comfort or gratefulness that we might experience as a result of prayer, it's also been proven to be a helpful practice to lessen anxiety and worry. The forms of prayer that allow us to move deeply into a state of stillness and attention do tend to quiet our minds, ease our worries, and provide some mental clarity for whatever may lay ahead. Some studies show that patients with active prayer lives tend to be discharged from the hospital up to 3 times faster than patients without. I think of prayer as a sort of sigh, a release. And sighing, too, has been shown to provide each of us a physiological, a bodily relaxation. It's our internal reset button when we are hitting our limits of tension, of worry, and of stress. But of course, there are reasons that we can't explain or prove in a study, and I certainly don't think we should discount those either. Many people have had such profound experiences during prayer, and there are many stories in our sacred scriptures of miracles that come as a result of prayer. There are healing ministries in many different houses of worship, and even more nuanced anecdotes of deep clarity and conviction that come as a result of personal prayer. I think of a former supervisor of mine. He often tells the story of a time he was visiting India in his early 20s. He was on a pilgrimage of sorts as a young man as he became more interested in Buddhism after growing up in a Hindu family here in California. He woke before dawn and found a large old tree that sat alone within a large field. So in his solitude in those pre-dawn hours, he began to meditate. It was one of those experiences of meditation that felt life-changing for him. He was deeply into the mystery of the quiet and the stillness. And then as he was experiencing this almost trance-like state, he was awoken from it by a small group of people who stood around him. He was annoyed until he reviewed all the faces in this group. Standing just a few feet away near the base of this tree was none other than the Dalai Lama. And one of the monks in his group said that this was one of the Holy One's favorite places to meditate, and asked if it was okay if they sat with him. Flabbergasted, he said, "Of course, please, Dalai Lama, come meditate with me." And for the next 20 minutes or so, he got to pray, meditate alongside the Dalai Lama. That's a pretty profound prayer experience. But the thing about prayer is that, yes, it sometimes is extraordinary. But I think for most people, for most of the time, it's part of the everyday. It's the mundane. The moments it bubbles up within ourselves during a time of need. And Unitarian Universalism makes space for prayer practice in every which way it might come. In this expansive tradition of ours, we value the ways prayer might manifest in our lives, and also value that it might not manifest at all. We share a commitment to the acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in each of our congregations, as well as the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, two of our UU principles. And I understand these two to mean that we open ourselves to the many ways we connect with and seek transcendence, oneness, stillness, sacredness. And we're open to the unique journeys that those beside us in these chairs and those at home are on as well. And this journey of prayer is not easy. Sometimes it feels contrived or out of touch or forced. And sometimes we're too angry or disillusioned to pray. I know I have been there at times, and maybe you have too. But in reflecting on what it means to have a prayer life or practice, I've been able to recognize the ways prayer can be a sacred grounding force in our lives. It buoys us, it prompts us to give thanks, it connects us to loved ones both near and far. This realization about prayer became crystal clear for me during an experience my first summer working as a chaplain. I was in spiritual care training at a large medical facility, and it became obvious pretty quickly that a big part of this job would be to offer prayer. Who knew, right? And not something from a book or a pre-rehearsed recitation. It would be spontaneous, extemporaneous, almost always. And as someone who grew up in a Catholic home and then moved my way into Unitarian Universalism, spontaneous prayer was not something I had a lot of experience with at that time. At best, I would say grace before meals at my in-laws because they thought it was fun to put the then seminarian of the family to use. So the idea that I'd have to do this many times a day with people that I often had just met, I was overthinking it big time. But this fear eventually melted away after a few weeks into my work after one particular experience with someone I'd been visiting almost every day. We had developed a rapport, and I'd learned a lot about her. I valued the time that we spent together. It felt sacred. This person was dealing with a life-threatening illness, and her prognosis and outlook wasn't very good. So one day I dropped in for my usual check-in and found her yelling out in intense pain. The medical staff were working with her and trying their best to get it under control, but they were having a really difficult time. And so as a chaplain, it's not my role to fix, but as a human being, I thought, what can I do to help this situation? I felt helpless as I wasn't able to fix her pain. I didn't know what medications to offer, what therapies to bring. And I thought maybe I should just leave one less body in the room as they're working with her. But then without even realizing it, I found myself saying to her, "Can I read you some Psalms?" And almost yelling, she said, "Yes, please." And I read aloud in part, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the rest of the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long." In our sessions over the previous few weeks, I had learned that Scripture was central to her prayer life. She could recite passages from the Bible from memory as easily and quickly as anyone that I had ever met. And even though we had different theologies and approaches, what mattered in that moment was our shared prayer, a moment of intentional connection and a sacred pause together. The Psalms in that moment were my prayer for her. And as I came upon her favorite passages, she would say them aloud with me. Reciting these words, these ancient prayers, we connected to something beyond ourselves. We were at the threshold together. And Psalm, I think, interestingly, is the Hebrew word meaning song. The book of Psalms is part of the Hebrew Bible, which is one of our 6 sacred UU sources, and of course is sacred for those in the Jewish and Christian traditions. Some find the words to be powerfully beautiful pleas that make for amazing melodies to be sung aloud. They are words that are read and recited and sung across many generations, across many continents, and many languages. And in that moment, they were the prayer that was needed. In that room, my worst fears about spontaneous prayer were realized. I didn't have the words for that moment. I didn't have the words to soothe or inspire or to bring hope. But I didn't have to. I was led to the words that needed to be said, to the prayer that needed to be shared aloud. This moment of prayerful recitation of the Psalms was a symbolic sigh for both of us. And in time, the pain was resolved by the medical team, and she let out an actual sigh of relief. So prayer to me is like this moment. We don't always know the words. We don't always know which way to go. We don't always know where to find connection or hope. But in prayer, sometimes we are led into these questions that arise from our souls, and the words come. In that room, we were questioning when this pain would end, how to make life meaningful in the midst of immense struggle. As we heard in the reading from Rilke this morning, I think prayer is often living the questions. Our prayers are those deep life questions that we reflect on in our minds, that we say aloud on our knees, that we sing in a melody as a group. They are a gesture towards something more, whether that something is God, or a oneness with the universe, or perhaps a deeper connection to our own sense of awe. And sometimes prayer gives us a quiet moment to reconnect with or to rediscover the wisdom already inside of us. So I ask this morning, in the spirit of living our questions, I invite you to think of a moment when you felt most connected in prayer or meditation, thinking about what you were ruminating about. Where were you? And as you reflect on that moment, consider how you might continue to live your questions in whatever prayerful posture suits you best. I know that my prayer life has certainly grown and evolved from the time I was a child, and even just a couple summers ago as my fledgling time as a chaplain. And I continue to ask myself, how can I live my life's questions through prayer? And for those of you who are wondering, don't worry, my beloved toy did show back up after that first prayer at age 7. Turns out it was hiding under the couch. So may each of you continue to live the questions of your lives, and may you find moments for a sacred pause to reconnect with Spirit, with one another, and with the world around us. May it be so, blessed be, and amen.
Please rise in body or spirit as we sing our closing song. All of life is filled with wonder, so we thank you, God of love, for the crash of evening thunder, ring clouds and stars above, for the night that turns to glowing as we feel the morning mist. God, we praise and thank you, knowing every day we're truly blessed. For the joy of waking, for the gift of each new day, for the smell of fresh bread breaking, for the sound of children's play, for the ways we seek to serve you, for thy work and volunteer. God, we humbly praise and thank you for your presence with us here. For the ways we're blessed with plenty, love and laughter, neighbors, friends, nature's wonders, seasons, bounty, life in you that never ends. For the ones who've gone before us, giving witness to your way, we rejoice in all who give us every moment, every day. For your loving hands are trouble, for your peace when things are tough, for your help when hardships double, for your grace that is enough, for a gentle kindness, for a doctor's healing skill. God, we thank you, we bless us, and you bless your word as well. For your presence in our neighbors, for your love that claims and frees, for your talents and our labors, for our faith communities, for your daily great surprises, for lost ones found. God, we thank you, hope still rises as your gifts of grace abound.
Unitarian Universalist congregations are fully self-supporting, meaning that members and friends raise all funds for the operating budget, ministries, and programs of the church. We are ever grateful for your gifts of time, treasure, and talent. OCUUC amplifies that spirit of generosity by sharing half of the plate we receive with an organization that shares our values. This month, we are sharing our plate with Stand Up for Kids Orange County. I have some sobering statistics from them. 1.7 million U.S. youth experience homeless every year. 50,000 youth sleep on the streets for 6 months or more each year. 1 in every 5 children between the ages of 10 and 18 will run away. Up to 40% of homeless youth identify as LGBTQ. Every day, 13 at-risk youth will die due to assault illness, or suicide trying to survive on the streets. That's approximately 5,000 per year. About 1/4 of youth experience homelessness within a year of aging out of the foster care system. Compared to housed youth, homeless youth are 75% more likely to self-medicate and abuse substances as a way to deal with trauma. You can learn more about Stand Up for Kids Orange County at www.standupforkids.org. There are multiple ways in which you can support the church and this organization. You can mail a check, you can go through our website, or you can use an app called Vanco Mobile. The choice is yours. All the information is on the website, should you need it. And as always, thank you for your generosity.
And now I ask you all to sing along with me as we sing our offertory response, a song that puts our intentions into words and expresses our gratitude for the many gifts we share. We gather together, we gather as one, for peace, love, and justice for everyone. We give from our hearts to show that we care. We can change lives with what we share.
Now is that time when we honor the important events in our lives. You are invited, one and all, whether you are a member, a friend, or a visitor, to participate in our weekly ritual of joys and sorrows. So let's take a deep breath. Perhaps you've come here today holding something close to your heart, moments from the last days or hours that have struck you at your core. If you'd like to honor such a profound joy or sorrow, you're invited to do so. If you're a roomer, you're invited to come forward to light a candle. If you'd like to share your joy or sorrow, you can write it on a slip of paper provided and hand it to me. If you're a Zoomer, you are invited to write your joy or sorrow in the chat. Once the roomers are done lighting candles, I will read all the joys and sorrows shared out loud as Judith Stamper lights a candle for the Zoomers. As music is played, I invite you to silently offer healing or celebration as you feel called and according to your own beliefs. So, roomers, you can come forward and light your candles. All right, I'll start by reading the ones from in here, the live ones, and then after that, then we'll light the candles for the ones in the chat. Marilyn G. has a joy or gratitude for Judith Stamper, who spent a day putting together a cabinet for me. All drawers and doors close easily and perfectly. And we have an anonymous joy here. 42 years ago, a chubby Swede boy was born in northern Wisconsin. Any guesses as to who? Happy birthday. Judith Stamper has another. I'm remembering my father on the 2nd anniversary of his death. We have another anonymous. We got a lot of anonymouses here today with this. This is Joy, and it's a happy birthday to our new AV tech, Avery Brown, whose birthday was yesterday. Yay! Okay, let's see here. All right, we have a sorrow from Amelia, RN. My mother, Dorothy Russo, passed away recently. We were blessed with her long life and extra years together, but we still miss her much. Amelia and Aaron. We have a candle of sorrow from Linda C. for friends of Juan and Teresa, whose son passed away unexpectedly on Thursday morning. Ann R. is sending support for Jeffrey as he goes through radiation. Yes, so I'll think about him. Let me see here. And Craig P. has a sorrow for my eye infection that kept me away from being in person at the service. A joy for the meditation circle at 9:45 and 10:30 service on Zoom. And that's all that I have. Okay. Let us hold in love all the joys and celebrations and all the hurts and sadness, both spoken and silent. Let our joys remind us to be thankful, our concerns remind us to hope, and our sorrows remind us to connect. Let all these moments remind us that we are not alone. Please join Judith Stamper in a spirit of prayer or meditation.
These are words from Chief Noah South. This we know, the earth does not belong to us, we belong to the earth. This we know, all things are connected like the blood which unites one family. All things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons and daughters of the earth. We do not weave the web of life, we are merely a strand in it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. Blessed be.
Let us join together as we extinguish the flame of our chalice and say together, we extinguish our chalice, but not the light of truth or the warmth of community or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you for joining us this morning. We are a congregation made up of people who all believe differently, and yet, when we gather together, we make up one loving community. We need not think alike to love alike. If you're a guest, a visitor, or someone who hasn't yet been known to us, I invite you to become a part of this beloved community. We encourage you to write in the chat your name and where you are from so we can welcome you. If you'd like to know more about our church, including programming for our youth and children, please contact us at hello@ocuuc.org, and we will help you get connected. In addition, we invite you to sign up for our weekly email called The Blast at ocuuc.org. We want everyone to feel a part of this beloved community, so please reach out and we will help you get connected. After the benediction, we have a short period where everyone can wave and say hello, and after that, you can choose to be put in Zoom breakout groups for 20 minutes or so. We invite you to check in and get to know the people in your group and welcome any visitors. And if we have any visitors here today that would like to introduce themselves, if you please stand up, we have a microphone that we can bring over so that the Zoomers can hear you. Have any visitors? Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I don't see any in the chat. So let's move on to our announcements. Okay. Today we have the Nonfiction Book Club from 12:30 to 2:30. And I know some of you might have seen outside that they're setting up an event for a cornhole. That is an auction event. And so if you guys have purchased the auction event, then that's what that's for. We also have Tuesdays concerts in the park. I know you guys have been getting those emails because I have. So please join us on July 19th and 26th at 6 p.m. at Fairview Park, right there in Costa Mesa. So it's a lot of fun to be had by all. Thank you.
So many good things happening in this community. So as we move into our closing, our benediction, I wanted to first extend my gratitude to Jan and Beth, Judith, Karen, and the whole tech team for making today's worship service happen and so beautifully. Thank you. And of course, thank you to you all, both here and at home, for welcoming me into your wonderful space this morning. I'm so glad to have spent my Sunday with you all. So may we continue to live the questions that arise from our souls in prayer and in practice. May we cultivate moments of stillness. May we sing the names on our hearts. May we find joy in this communal prayer that we've shared together this morning in worship. Go in peace. And let us share our benediction together in song.
Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out with indifference destroyed. Let us go out with joy one more time. Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out with indifference destroyed. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out with joy. Yay! This service is over. Let our service continue.